Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, Aetherdrift spoiler season just keeps speeding along. Tired of the puns yet? No? Yeah, probably. Okay, let's skip the puns. Let's jump into these spoilers and into yet another exciting quick take. So, first up, Intimidation Tactics. This one is a card that, well, if you're mean, do it. No, just kidding. Sorcery for a single black mana. Thank you, MTG Goldfish, for the translated version of this. Target opponent reveals their hand. Choose an artifact or creature card from it. Exile a card, cycling for 3. This is a very specific card when it comes to Commander. There's not too many decks necessarily that would want to utilize it. Usually when it's like, getting things out of players' hands, that's more like discarding because there are certain commanders like Tiny Bones that have benefits for doing so. Straight up exiling something isn't all that good. Usually, I mean, it's good to say you don't get that anymore. The cycling in a way is nice in that you have like the option for that, but this is probably more of a limited card, standard card. But yeah, the cycling, maybe a cycling deck could utilize it, depending. Moving on, we've got Brightfield Mustang, a 3/3 horse mount for 4 mana in white. When this creature attacks while saddled, untap, put a counter on it, and it's got saddle 1. So, yeah, this is probably, again, more so a very specific mount, tribal, or, vehicle/mount deck, essentially. If not, more so, probably, a card for standard or limited. But yeah, this one, I guess, could go in, those kind of decks where you have a commander, that needs to tap, essentially. That's like, oh, okay, I don't want to send my commander in danger, but it has a tap trigger. Those kinds of commanders, you might want to consider it. Next up, Momentum Breaker, an enchantment for 2 mana in black. Start your engine. So again, the whole, start with 1 speed thing. Damage to opponents, or they lose life, or whatever it is. Max speed of 4. When this enchantment enters, each opponent sacrifices a creature or vehicle of their choice. Each opponent who can't discards a card. So that's actually decent when it comes to, an edict effect, because some edict effects don't really have kind of that, I guess, insurance policy on them, I guess we could call it, where your opponent is getting, a loss of some kind, no matter what, essentially, unless they are destitute. Unless they literally have no creatures in play, I guess vehicles or whatever, too. Have no creatures, have no cards in hand, and then you're like, oh, well, yeah, I guess you don't have to lose anything because I feel bad for you. But no, most of the time, this is obviously going to hit all 3 opponents. Just for 2 mana, that is quite good. And also, it does get around, opponents who might be playing vehicle decks that essentially are just like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't need creatures in play because I have vehicles. Ha ha ha. It's like, no. It forces the sacrifice of that, too. Pay 2, sacrifice enchantment, you gain life equal to your speed. Yeah, that is a nice, just in case policy, or if you have a life gain strategy where you have something like a Sanguine Bond in play, maybe you're like, okay, yeah, drain someone 4 potentially. That could be nice. Or just in general, the fact that this is an enchantment could make it utilized in obviously enchanter strategies. It is pretty low to the ground. It's also on ETB, so a blink strategy could work with it as well, so do keep that in mind. So the fact that it is kind of this weirdly working card, again, where it is an enchantment that just sticks around and you might not really utilize that gaining life equal to your speed all that much. It's nice to have it there, but it's also a consideration, again, for decks that might not think to consider it, or edict effects in general, but again, Enchantress or blink decks could definitely consider it outside of, just edict effects generally. Moving on, I guess discard decks could too, but you can't really count on the discard. Moving on! Thopter Fabricator. Is that an elephant on top of that? Anyways, 4/4 vehicle with flying for 3 mana in blue with crew 2. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, make a 1/1 Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Yeah, that is good. That is very good. I mean, there are other effects out there we have seen before, I'm trying to think of, there's Emrakul's Evangel. Is that the one? That's I think that one makes little Eldrazi Scions or Spawns or whatever, essentially, that you can sacrifice. There's also another one that makes 1/1 Flying Fairies as well. Yeah, I mean, these kinds of effects we have seen before. The fact that this is on a vehicle, though, actually kind of makes it better than the other ones, even though I think both the other ones I was talking about, I think, cost 1 mana less. That being said, I would rather have this one because, again, it is a vehicle, meaning most of the time it is not a creature, which some people might see as a downside, but it's actually a big upside on your opponent's turns when it comes to, oh, I cast a Wrath of God. Oh, I'm destroying all the creatures. And you're like, oh, okay, well, my vehicle's not a creature, so cool. It survives that wrath. Yeah, having vehicles can definitely be a good thing when it comes to surviving wraths and being able to rebuild quicker. And also, I mean, the fact that this is a 4/4 flyer with a very low crew cost, yeah, you can crew it up pretty easily and have a pretty beefy blocker when you need it in the air, or again, a good attacker that just kind of was sitting around for a bit, building up an army of Thopters, and then eventually you can be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to use this giant Thopter thing essentially to hit you as well. So yeah, I mean, blue decks in general that like draw a bunch of cards, or draw consistent cards, I should say, again, because it's on each turn, not just your own. So with each trip on the table, you've got the potential of getting 4 Thopters in play. So yeah, artifact decks, go wide artifact strategies, artifact creature strategies, all the above. It's a pretty cool card. I like it a lot. Next up, one thing I did not expect to see is a 1-mana Merfolk that's like, hey, you know what? Draw all the cards in the world. And also get all the counters in the world. A 1/1 Merfolk Wizard for a single blue mana, Mind Spring Merfolk. Exhaust for X blue tap. Draw X cards. Put a counter on each Merfolk creature you control. Okay, yeah, Merfolk decks out there rejoice, because I'm not going to say, I'm not saying auto-include. It's really hard to say the word auto-include, like, when we have so many cards these days, but if you're looking for a low-to-the-ground Merfolk, which are great in Merfolk decks, because usually you have, like, other, like, Lord-type effects, or just benefits for having a lot of Merfolk in play, so having a low-to-the-ground one is great, and then a low-to-the-ground Merfolk that also turns into a giant, just draw a ton of cards spell, essentially. Like, I mean, it's Mind Spring. Is Mind Spring the actual card? I think it was Mind Spring is an actual card, I believe. Is that the sorcery one that's just basically X blue? Let me know in the comments. I think that's Mind Spring, right? So basically, this is Mind Spring, but again, you can do it at instant speed. And also on top of that, you get a counter on each Merfolk you control. Now, again, this is an exhaust ability, meaning that you can activate each exhaust ability only once. Not once each turn, just once. That being said, you are obviously in blue, and if you have any like blink effects in there as well, or, you know, let's say it gets bounced back to your hand and you replay it, that resets it as a new card essentially, and then yes, you can activate that again. So do keep that in mind. Or if you've got, say, like a Thassa, like some people like a Thassa Merfolk deck where like the one that like blinks, so you're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, just blink this, redo it, and then all of a sudden, oh, I can do it again, cool. So yeah, this is a really, really good card for a Merfolk strategy. I mean, not just Merfolk, though. Like, there's going to be some other decks, like big, you know, mana strategies. They're like, okay, I'll get this down early, maybe, and then utilize it as a massive draw spell, especially if you've got, like, I mean, like, blink spells in there, too, where you can reuse this. It is a repeatable source of card advantage in those types of strategies that can, again, get it out multiple times. So, again, ones that can get it back to their hand, back from their graveyard, again, blink it, whatever you need to do, you can just reset this, and when you do, again, it is a really, really good way to just draw an absurd amount of cards. But yeah, for the most part, it's going to be Merfolk strategies because, yeah, I mean, being able to just draw a ton of cards while also getting a single counter on each of your Merfolk is great. Being able to just build up their power. And on top of that, yeah, it builds up its own power too, so do keep that in mind. But with that last news spoiler, just for now, again, stay tuned to this channel for more exciting spoilers. I have a commander that's been on my mind since it's been spoiled, and I want to do a quick take on it, so let's jump into that. I hope you're as excited about it as I am. And that would be Sita, Varma, Masked Racer. I'm probably saying that name entirely wrong, but anyways, a 2/3 human rogue for 2 mana in Simic. Wizards, I like when Simic commanders do different things. Many players out there also like when Simic commanders do different things. Keep making Simic commanders that do different things. Don't just copy, paste, lands, draw. Yay! No, Wizards, bad Wizards. This is good. Keep doing this, okay? A 2/3 human rogue again that's got exhaust for X, green, and a blue. Put X counters on Sita Varma. Then you may have the base power and toughness of each other creature you control become equal to Sita Varma's power until end of turn. Now, the way that this one is designed is actually really clever in the way that it works with exhaust, because yeah, you can't just keep activating it, number one. Again, I already talked about that with the previous exhaust card I talked about, where basically, yeah, you need to, like, blink it, or you need to, like, bounce back to your hand, replay it, or, yeah, just, it's your commander, play back in the command zone. But essentially, again, like, you can't just keep building up counters on this by activating its ability to get counters on it to increase that power to get the base power and toughness of your other creatures the same. That being said, yeah, there's a lot of exciting things that you can do with this one. You don't even need to really invest a ton of mana into that X or anything into that X. Again, you just have to pay essentially the green, and a blue, and that will make all your creatures have base power and toughness equal to Sita Varma's. Now, if you got extra mana lying around, obviously it's a good idea to dump that in there. But also, there's other ways to pump your commander, of course, and it doesn't matter, based on the number of counters. It's based on the power, the total power. So based on that, you can turn your super tiny creatures, again, like a Flying Bend type strategy potentially, or maybe a Gross Poison type strategy, we'll get to here in a second. You can make that incredibly potent, incredibly quickly, and do some gross, disgusting, amazing things with this commander that, again, you can have a one-shot kind of just like swinging out and take players out, but also maybe a backup plan or two to be like, oh, okay, I didn't take everyone out. I don't want my commander just sitting around. Although it's pretty, powerful right now. But, yeah, maybe I'll blink it to reset it, essentially, or I'll bounce it back to my hand to recast it or whatnot so that I can actually activate that again and make my army unstoppable again. Now, when it comes to creatures that you might want to utilize with this commander, one of the first ones that came to my mind, or just a category in general, again, Flying Men. Low to the ground type creatures. That's just kind of what they're called in general. I think it was an original, a long time ago card from, I think Arabian Nights? I can't remember. A 1/1 Siren Pirate Wizard, though. Siren Storm Tamer for a single blue mana. Flying, pay a blue, sacrifice it, counter target spell ability that targets a creature, or a creature you control, I should say. So this one, again, is one that does have utility. We are getting more and more and more utility, low to the ground evasive creatures these days, and this is a very good one. You get it in play, you can utilize it to save, yourself or, maybe your commander from something brutal. But also, if it just sticks around, you're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, okay, I activate my commander's ability, it's got 10 power. All of a sudden, this tiny little 1/1 has 10 power, and again, it is evasive. So again, early on, it can be a nuisance. Later on, it can be game ending. Speaking of 10 power, Belt of Giant Strength. Yeah, this is a card that came to my mind, again, right away when I saw this commander. It's an equipment that costs 2 mana in green. Equipped creature has base power and toughness 10/10. Equipped 10, this ability costs X less to activate or actually power the creature target. So again, it is easier to equip when you have more things that are benefiting your commander. So obviously, if you've got other ways to pump your commander, which we'll talk about plenty of them, it can make it easier to equip. And of course, if you have other ways to get counters on your commander as well, yeah, that can really help kind of add on top of that base power before you actually activate your commander's ability. So do keep that in mind. But again, literally, if this is just equipped to your commander, it's like, oh, okay, at the very least, my creatures are all now going to be 10/10s. And if you have an army of evasive 10/10s, you're probably going to win the game. Speaking of which, Raised by Giants, a bit simpler than the belt, but works in the same way, essentially. It's an enchantment, background for 6 mana in green. Commander creatures you own have base power and toughness 10/10, and are giants this other type. So, I mean, the only difference is basically now it's a giant too. But yes, again, having a base power and toughness 10/10, no matter when your commander's on the board, it's just like, oh, okay, cool. 10/10 commander. Already, that's a really good thing, obviously, because it can be a 3-shot, if not very easily a 2-shot. Of course, even a 1-shot potentially KO on anyone. But yeah, obviously, just pay 3 mana, and all of a sudden, your entire team are 10/10s. Black Later Forge, there's plenty of different ways, obviously, to pump your commander. It's a very popular one. Equipment for 2, equivalent legend creature for 3, +1 for each land you control. Again, you are in green, the cheat code color in Commander, because Commander's a format where you don't destroy lands, and because of that, yeah, ramp to your heart's content, get all the lands in play, and all of a sudden, you just equip this to your commander and get like a free, like, +7 power at least, essentially, probably. And then your commander has an absurd amount of power, and then you can equip the belt, and then your opponents are like, oh no, that is like a 17 power commander, and I am in trouble. Actually, be like 19. Okay, goodbye. Next up, Blighted Agent. Yeah, I kind of mentioned earlier that one way to win might be, Poison-y. A 1/1 human rogue with Infect for 2 mana in blue. It's unblockable. Very mean. So again, literally, if you just have your commander at 10 power in one way or another, again, there's plenty of ways to get there. All of a sudden, you swing with this, and yeah, you have activated your commander, and yeah, it's getting through because it's unblockable. Why did they take out that keyword? Someone let me know in the comments below, because now it's like, cannot be blocked. Why not just unblockable? That makes sense. Okay, why did they take it out? They used to have it. Anyways, being able to one-shot anyone, yeah, that's quite easy with an Infect creature. I mean, you could even just have, like, a Plague Mirror in the deck, which is just kind of sitting around as just a mana dork that is super threatening at some point. Again, it starts off, it's like, oh, it's just a 1/1, don't worry about it. And all of a sudden, you've got an absurd amount of power in your commander, your opponent's like, I'm pretty worried about that little 1/1 right there. And you're like, yeah, you should be. Here it comes. So yeah, being able to essentially get this through at some point, that could be absurdly deadly, obviously. Next up, Mean. Another way to just win the game, taking out an opponent, is with Cephalid Constable. Anytime you can find a commander that's like, you know what's good in this deck? Cephalid Constable. What a weird card! A 1/1 Cephalid Wizard for 3 mana in blue. Deals combat damage to a player. Return to X target permanents that player controls back to their hands, or X the damage dealt to that player. yeah, all you need to do again is just say, hey, pump my commander, essentially utilize that ability, again, 10 power, whatever it is. If this gets through, that opponent's game is destroyed. Their plans are destroyed. Their day is ruined. Okay, their day is probably not ruined. Hopefully their day is not ruined, but again, you literally are like, oh, okay, yeah, I, bounce their lands. Bounce their lands probably is what you're going to be doing because, again, it doesn't say non-land permanents, and if you bounce their lands, the game is over for them. Now, if you're like me, you probably won't just go straight for the lands because that's kind of like mean, unless you, again, literally don't have enough things to bounce for you, then have to actually bounce the land. So I would start off with the regular things in play, like a good commander player should in casual, I guess, right? And then all of a sudden be like, oh, wait, you only had 4 permanents in play. So I got to bounce 6 of your lands. Sorry, yeah, your game's over. Your game is over if that happens. Cold-Eyed Selkie, yet another great way to take advantage of a combat damage trigger again for just a 1/1 that now can become massive. A Merfolk Rogue for 3 mana in Simic Island Walk. So again, if an opponent has Island, they're helping you out because this is going to be unblockable for you. Deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards. So again, a massive card draw engine for you by saying, hey, you know what? Swing out again, let's say 10 power. Cool, I'm drawing 10 cards just for hitting you. Great. Choose your weapon, a great 3 mana spell, double target creature's power and toughness to start turn, or you can deal 5 damage to creature with flying. So you're playing against a dragon deck, take down a medium-sized dragon-ish. I mean, I'd usually just, dragons are kind of what I think about with flying. Other flyers out there too, obviously. That being said, the important thing here is doubling up power and toughness because your opponents might think that you're done. Again, like, okay, my commander's at 10 power. I'm going to be activating my ability. Like, oh no, 10 power. Okay, well, maybe we can survive that. And then be for like, wait, no, actually, I'm going to spend 3 mana for this card. I'm going to double my commander's power. And now it's 20 power. And then I'm going to activate the ability. And the opponent's like, oh, gosh, no. And then, yeah, 20 power, all the creatures, you're going to take them out. Scepter of Celebration, yet another way to take advantage of power with this deck. And equipment for 3 mana, +2/+0, and has trample for the equipped creature. So that's nice, again, with your commander getting trample, being able to swing through, and also extra power. That being said, what matters here is, matters a little bit more. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. So, yeah, put this on, your commander or an evasive creature, essentially, and just all of a sudden you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to swing. I'm going to activate my commander. Everything is massive, and now I make even more things. So then essentially, if I, again, let's say I did 12 damage with this, essentially, right, 10 plus the 2. If I then blinked my commander, bounced my commander, replayed my commander, and was able to activate again, now again, I have all those creature tokens in play that then are going to get that much bigger as well. So yeah, this can really add to going wide on top of going tall. Next up, that's a Deep Dwelling, a 6/5 god with indestructible for 4 mana in blue. Devotion less than 5 for blue. It's not a creature. It's nice when it's a creature. Again, 6/5. Beginning of your end step, exile up to one other target creature you control. Then return that card to the battlefield under your control. Pay 4 mana, essentially tap another target creature. So yeah, a way to potentially get some creatures through or to tap some creatures down. But yeah, mostly it's just like, hey, you know what? Conjurer's Closet on a big creature. Yeah, that'd be quite nice. Being able to blink your commander to reset that exhaust can be a good thing, obviously, for you. Other bounce spells will work as well. Horizon Stone, another great 5-mana card to consider. Artifact for 5. If you lose unspent mana, the mana becomes colorless instead. I'm not saying that you can't just go, okay, big mana, dump it all into that X, because that's definitely a way to do it. Absolutely. And big mana is fun, right? Absolutely. Store up a lot of mana with this. Cool. I'm just saying that there's other cards to consider, too, that make things a little bit easier. Again, like Black Lighter Forge. If that's already equipped on your commander, you're saving so much mana instead of having to dump all that mana into your commander, essentially. Or if you have something like, Unnatural Growth in play. Enchantment for 5 mana in total. Beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. Again, a free doubling effect. Yeah, sign me up for that with a commander that wants to have an absurd amount of power. Yeah, there's a lot of fun things to do with this one. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.